Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ian with a Mountain Moose Reviews special video. I'm going over all the stuff that I actually use in all my box subscriptions. So, for those of you who follow the channel at all, you've noticed that I did both HuntVault, and I decided to move from HuntVault to Battlbox. Did those simultaneously. Then I dropped HuntVault due to poor customer service and lack of give a care from their folks, as well as they weren't really catering their products the way that they claimed they would, and I didn't see that value for the money. And then I switched exclusively over to Battlbox, and I've been very pleased with that so far. So I just want to kind of go over some of the products that I've actually used, so that way people can see whether or not it's just garbage that you end up throwing in the cool, oh, this is cool, I'll use this sometime, and then go from there. So first up, we're going to go off on the big stuff, just to go out. So HuntVault pushed out, I think in February. This was a February giveaway as an OtterBox big cooler. This was their hot selling ticket item. Now remember, this is a $200 plus cooler that they recommended, or something that they had, and it was part of the box. The rest of the box was absolute garbage. It was some shooting targets that were like valued at $10, some licenses and things like that. But overall, the cooler itself is actually pretty decent. It seems to keep a lot of the stuff I have cold. Use it when going out in the desert, using it with my family. We were able to keep ice cold water in there. We had a couple of ice packs, kind of make sure everything stayed cold. Nothing got melted, and there was chocolate in there. So overall, thus far, pretty impressed. It just hasn't got that hot. I think it was in the lower 90s a couple weeks ago. It's supposed to get up where I live. It's close to the desert, so it's about 115 is where it's average. So we'll see how it does throughout the summer, and I'll be able to report back more. So continuing on through former HuntVault stuff, so it's really sad when you have to say that, hey, this is one of their better things. So this hoodie that they sent out, they valued it at $50, and I kind of scoffed at it, like, geez, that's really expensive. They must think really highly of themselves. This is actually genuinely pretty good. The quality of the fabric's really nice, and it's really warm. So they sent this out, and I was kind of sad afterwards, kind of made me second guess some of the stuff I was doing with HuntVault because of the fact that that particular product was pretty good. But then I realized it was the overarching theme there was, I remember it's customer service and the product, and that was just one of the products that seemed to work. Continuing on through, so I'm just going to go from left to right. One of the other things that I got from, I believe it was HuntVault, was this little product. So this is a Wagon Tech Ion Boost Slim. Now, this is normally just a battery charge, so it stores up for your phones, things like that. But the really unique thing about this particular product is that it's got jumper cables that attach to it. Now, most people are like, oh, what the hell are you going to use that for? Well, if you are part of the coronavirus and have not decided to drive anywhere for the last several months, it really sucks on your battery. So wife's particular car has a V6, which is what this is rated for, and tried it out. And so far, I've successfully jumped it several times because I haven't been able to get out far enough to go get a battery. And if you don't believe me, there's some of the awesome battery corrosion that's on top of those teeth, but it genuinely works, not just a little bit, but very, very well. I'm very surprised and shocked. It's kind of one of those things that, pleasantly surprised, I should say. And not only that, it jumped the car, kept the car going, and still had enough charge in there. It was about 3/4 or more full, according to the little light indicators, little LED indicators on the unit. So very impressed with this, especially if you're trying to carry some extra battery power and you're worried about potentially jumping your car. Very much worth it. So going on down through the line, HuntVault has a tendency to send out a hat or some type of a head covering every single box that I got from them. This was in one of their latter boxes, and it's kind of a funky camo pattern, but it's a really lightweight material, which again, being out in the desert is great because it offers some SPF protection for my in-reg haircut, as well as it's very lightweight, so it's not heavy like a lot of the cotton fabric hats, and it's not a trucker hat. So I don't remember how much this was, but so far I've been pretty impressed. The only thing I haven't liked about it is because it is so lightweight, it's very easy to get taken away by the wind. So, but overall, I actually use the product. Probably should throw this in the wash because it needs it. But continuing on through, the reason I got into HuntVault itself was because of its optics. So what they had, I believe their November box said, hey, we're partnering with Vortex. I was hoping I was going to get some really good scope or something like that as part of the deal. Ended up getting this Monocular, and at the time, for the Vortex Solo Monocular, I was not really all that impressed. It was like, that seemed kind of like a cop-out to me. I was hoping for something more, probably unrealistic expectations, but I actually took this with me on a bear hunt in Northern California. Proved its worth, because if you're carrying a rifle and trying to go through the woods for hours and hours and hours during the day, it's really beneficial to have this, so you don't have to either raise your rifle to look through the optic to see where, kind of glass a field, and it's also better than trying to carry all the rest of the other stuff. So if you can knock off a few pounds by carrying something a little bit lighter that does it well, very impressed with this. I think the overall price on it that they quoted me was much higher than I could probably get for it in the civilian market or on the free market, but overall still very impressed with the unit itself. Continuing through, so got these, I believe, last battle box. My wife called these my Florida man glasses because they look like some old geezer from Florida. They have these really awesome retention straps in the back that don't sit down. They go straight back. So you look like an absolute tard. But aside from being made in China, these things have been phenomenal for blocking out UV light. So these are the Calcutta Polarized Bimini glasses. I've used them pretty much exclusively, and that's coming from a pair of Oakleys. So the only time I don't wear these is whenever I have to do stuff that's in uniform, because these aren't military regulation and they're not ballistic. But that being said, these are fantastic for cutting down on that extra glare. So again, it sounds ridiculous, but it's the little things, the little products that really did make a difference in a lot of these boxes. Continuing on through, so this one I used once or twice, and then I put into my prepper bag. So this is the Lord & Field, I believe this is called the Tropos Knife, and I put it into my I want to say bug out bag, your camping bag, whatever, because it's a multi-purpose tool. So you've got your regular standard knife that actually unlocks and becomes a fillet knife. So if you're actually out fishing, and then you've got a little set of fork on the other side. So it's kind of sort of gimmicky, but it does do what it's supposed to do. It's intended to do. The edge on it is really sharp, comparatively speaking. And I like the fact that, hey, I can actually cut my steak or cut whatever game animal I'm going after, including fish, with this. So again, this was part of the reason I think I picked up that package specifically. And I've used it a couple of times. As I said, not a lot, because not out camping a whole lot, because we all have to stay at home. But I've been very impressed. So a lot of the knives, I've got a few others here. A lot of the knives I've seen, some of them have really good quality and really everyday use capability. Some of them have not. So I'm still trying to find a dedicated home and use for this box, but I got it, I believe, in a battle box 2 months ago. But it's a little kind of carry case for emergency stuff or something along that line. I've had tinder in here. I've put gun parts in here. I've looked at putting in some of my fishing tackle and fishing line in here, just because it's a cool little box that it kind of defies the point, because it's supposed to be a waterproof box. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to use this in general, but the idea behind it is to try and keep something safe, crush-proof. So maybe putting batteries for optics for some of your weapons.
Jewelry.
Putting in jewelry. The wife said if she wants to keep the box, I'm good with that. But just kind of a cool little neat thing that I've actually used a couple times just to see where it fits. It's a neat product, but I'm trying to figure out where its niche is. Going on to something else that's a little different. So these are the Gator clip lights. I put them back in the original packaging just because I don't want them going everywhere. But I let my kids play with these whenever they're camping in our backyard. Very easy to use. They clip on a hat. They can clip on the side of a tent. Turn on a button. Very bright LED. Thus far, I've only used them a little times. They're hands-free. They're magnetic. But for me, it's always nice to have a little extra light. I was hoping to use these during hunting season specifically, so that way if you do get something at dusk, you can actually clean your animal instead of wearing a big clunky headlamp. Put that on your hunting hat, or that cool little camo hat that I've got. Put it on there so that way you can actually see what you're doing. So very neat there. Lord & Field again. So Up until this time, my kids had never seen what a Flint Striker set was, how it worked, you know, what a ferro rod does, any of that kind of stuff. They just thought fire comes from this. So I actually took this out and started a couple of small fires in the backyard in a campfire area or camp setting. Showed them how difficult it actually is to start a fire. It is very much a perishable skill using these, but this particular set seems really good. I enjoyed it. So it comes with its own striker on here with a pretty blunt, flat edge, which is really what you want. I've always found that it does really well. Very easy to get a spark, comes with a nice box, and then it also came with some tinder. I think I still got some of that left. So a little bit of tinder to get your fire started. But I got this in a Battlbox, I know that one for sure. Been very impressed with that, and then it's actually inspired me to get a couple of extras ferro rods around the house just because it doesn't go bad. It can't crack like a lighter can, and it can't it doesn't get wet and soaked or destroyed like matches can, and it's not as perishable. So I mean, you've got several years of use. If you use this every single day, you've got years and years of use for it. So very impressed so far. That's a couple Lord & Field products, so thus far they've been one of the favorites. All right, so last two items on it are both knives. So the first one I got here is the little Kershaw. I believe this is called the Oso knife. I got it out of a HuntVault box. I found it to be one of the more easy to use knives. It's a simple folder like most knives, but the nice part is it's got that torsion bar in it that helps it for that easy open, ready open. I've used this almost exclusively for a couple of months just because it was easy to use. Great for one-handed, hands-free opening of those Amazon packages that everybody's been just absolutely ordering during this pandemic. But by and large, I like it. It's got kind of a fish scale look to it. I don't know if you can kind of see it in the camera or not, but it's very grippy, and I was kind of concerned with it because Kershaw has mixed reputation depending on who you talk to. But thus far, I've been very impressed with this particular knife. It holds an edge really well. I hone it up and shorten it, and I hone it up every now and again just to make sure to keep the blades sharp. But I've had no issues with it. So very good little knife. I was very impressed with that. And then finally, it was this big clunker. I talked about it in my last video that I made, but this is the Sulu knife, or I believe that's how they want it pronounced. But it's from it's Revolt Knives, or Revolt Knives. So I originally got this last month. I was thinking, what in the hell am I going to use this for? This thing is huge. Just a big clunky hunk of steel. I'm never going to use this. It's kind of odd. Decided to carry it for about a week in operation. Started using it, and it's actually very, to me, there goes the glasses. I did mention they're durable. But so far, this knife has seemed to hold up to everything I've wanted to. It holds a very, very good edge. I'm very impressed with it. And then because like most guys, I didn't read the directions on, hey, this is actually an ulu knife. So if you're not familiar, an ulu knife is one where they actually use it for cooking, chopping, skinning animals. So I started playing around with it because I'm like, why is there this little bar right here in the middle? That just doesn't make sense. There's no rational purpose to have that there for a knife. And then I started screwing around with it, and I actually read the directions on it and said, well, you know, if you push the blade down, it goes into an ulu knife, which makes sense. And that's when the name kind of, aha. You know, I never said I was a smart man. I just said that I like to do stuff like this. So anyway, this knife has turned out to be very, very positive, at least in my end. It's one of the ones I typically carry nowadays versus a little Kershaw, just because it's got a little bit more purchase for my hand. So it fits my hand better if I'm using it. I've used it to prepare dinner. I've used it to cut through some pretty good chunks of meat. I've used it to open those Amazon packages that are oh so hard to get open. And thus far, I've really enjoyed it. So very impressed. So by and large, I would say I use or play with, borrow, however you want to describe it, probably about 50 to 75% of most of my boxes. There's some of them that just don't meet the mustard. So to kind of just elaborate real briefly on that, that's one of the reasons why I got rid of the HuntVault box, because it's supposed to be catered specifically towards rifle hunter, bow hunter, duck hunter, and cater those products to you. That's why I got this Kershaw knife, because it was supposed to be crossbow or bow broadheads. And I said specifically on there, hey, I'm a rifle hunter. I don't typically do a lot of bow hunting, even though I can. So they sent this as a replacement for the arrowheads. Well, the next month they sent out a bow holder. The next month after that, they sent out fletchings for an arrow. So it just didn't make sense for me to use those because it's not something I typically do or typically hunt with. So it's kind of one of those, didn't really use any of those products. Some of the other products that I've used, I've got coffee in some of the boxes. It's been pretty decent. I've got 3 coolers now, so I can only use 1 cooler at a time. So HuntVault sent 2 back to back. They sent this one, and then the next month they sent the Ice Mule, which I've actually used that one too. It's been pretty good. I've got a knife every month, so I'm kind of going through figuring out which ones go where, which ones fit why. But yeah, that just kind of goes over the boxes. So is it right for you? That's for you to decide. So far, I've been pleased with it. It's kind of nice to get that little once a month, hey, here's a little surprise. And to me, I see the value in it because it has inspired me to actually try and do other things with it. Like, again, I've had Flint Striker set or ferro rod sets, Flint Striker sets before to try and get stuff fire started, and I never really played with it until I got that one in the mail. Inspired that kindled that learning, if you will, to try something new. So hopefully you find this video helpful. If you do, please like, hit subscribe. If you have any other questions on some of the products I mentioned here or other products in my videos, please by all means hit me up online. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Other than that, stay safe, and I'll talk to you next time.